Okay, hey everybody. This is Noah, chess teacher, and today's lesson is about castling. Castling is what many would consider a defensive move, but it's essential. I mean, it's probably recommended that you castle 99% of the time in your chess matches. Um, there's two types of castling. You can castle the short way, which when you castle the short way, you bring your king um, two squares and the rook goes right beside it. Okay, um, it's proper etiquette, and also during a tournament, it's very important you touch the king first. You move it two squares, and then the rook again becomes right beside it. If you castle a long way, it's the same king movement, meaning that you go two squares, and the rook becomes right beside it. Notice that if you castle long, your king ends up on c1. Whereas if you castle on the short side, it ends up on g1. Okay. A common mistake that people make is they switch the positions of the king and the rook. So, so it looks like let's see if I can. Let's see. Well, this is the proper way of doing it, but sometimes people they'll put the king on h1 and the rook on e1, but that is incorrect. Okay. Again, castling long, two squares, and beside it. All right. Same thing works on the black side. Two squares, rook comes right beside it, and on the other side, two squares, rook becomes right beside it. Okay. Some rules about when you can't castle. If you are in check, you cannot castle to get out of check. So if this was white to move, white would not be allowed to castle now if you're in check. Um, another um, another possible way you're not allowed to castle. White could not castle on the short side here because the black rook, is hitting these squares. So it's not. So as the king travels, you can't travel through check. So even though he finishes on this square, he actually is moving across that square, and since that rook would be hitting that square, he cannot castle. Same thing on the other side. The rook is hitting all these squares, so the king cannot castle long ways. All right. Another way you cannot castle is if you have moved your king, and then let's say you bring the king back, you cannot castle anymore. Another way you cannot castle is if I move this rook out and then I bring it back, I would not be allowed to castle on this side. Um, so moving the king and then moving it back, no more castling. Moving the rook and then moving it back, no more castling on this side. Um, if the rook is hitting here, you cannot travel through check. Okay. If the rook is here and white is in check, see if I can. All right. If white is in check, you cannot castle to get out of check. Okay. All right. And that is castling. And thank you very much.